Hey, I'm Mark. Welcome. Today we're going to learn how to ride a bike. Use this information at your own risk. I assume no liability. So first, let's go over the controls on the bike. I'll go ahead and turn it this way. They're usually labeled: horn, left turn, high beam, low beam, kill switch to kill the engine, the run switch. Usually when you turn it on, it's going to be in the off position, so you'll have to hit the run. Starter button and right turn signal. Only thing to keep note of is that if you want to, this is on an American V-twin, Harley's included. If you want to turn on your hazards, you turn both the left and the rear turn signal on at the same time. This is your gauge cluster, which tells you, in this case, RPMs, mileage, speed, and then the indicators here of when you're in neutral, low oil, left and right turn signal. Let's go ahead and go over hand and foot controls now. This is your clutch. Okay, so similar like a car clutch, instead of letting it out with your foot, this is not engaged. You're engaging by letting out with your hand. Your shifter is on this side. So as I shift through the gears, first is always at the very bottom. And that's on all the bikes, sport bikes, V-twins, customs, because you need to be able to know when you're definitely in first. So all the way down is first. Neutral is just that half shift up. So you can kind of feel that little half click up, that's neutral. And then, you know, when you get higher speed, second, third, fourth, and so forth. Okay? On this side of the bike, this is your front brake, braking the front wheel, and this is your rear brake by the foot, braking your rear wheel. One thing to definitely note, if you have to only use one brake, get used to using just the front brake. Okay, you should try to use both brakes as much as possible, but if you can only use the front brake for now, use the front brake. Definitely do not just hit the rear brake without the front brake, because you will end up fishtailing the back, and you'll only do that once before you're going to learn that lesson. So those are the controls of the bike. The key area is going to vary. This is carbureted, and so there's a enricher here that you need to use to start the bike. But once you're at that point, you're going to figure all that stuff out. Or I may make another video. So we're going to do a first exercise, pretending that you've never been on a bike. And all we're going to do is we're going to just kind of tip the bike over a little. Okay, we're just going to get the feel of the bike. So the first thing you want to do is kind of get a feel for that bike. And you're going to notice, I'll get to this in a little bit, that as it's tipping this way, I don't want to kind of use strength and stop it. I want to lean away from the tip. So as I'm tipping, I'm leaning away. And this concept comes into turning as well, because as I'm turning this way, I'm going to be leaning away from the bike. Particularly on cruisers, because you're sitting farther back, instead of up front like on a sport bike where your hands would be more involved in the turning process. So first exercise, tip the bike. Spend as much time as you need to do that, so you really get familiar with it. Second exercise is going to be walking the bike. So in neutral, we're going to walk it uphill, like so, and we're going to walk it back. Walk it on a turn a little bit, walk it back. And just keep playing with that. So you can definitely walk the bike. And there's going to be some cases when, especially when your fork sticks out a lot, where you won't be able to make the turn. So you're actually going to get stuck here when car maybe park there. You don't have to turn it, back it out, turn it, go forward. You get the idea. Okay, so when you're selecting a bike, there's three things that you want to keep in mind as far as difficulty or the potential for tipping it over. All right. Most often, if you're at a decent speed, you're not going to arbitrarily just crash a bike. The dropping of the bike happens when you're at low speed, when you're hitting turns, and so there's three things you want to remember. One is the height of the seat. Okay, this is a pretty low seat. Okay, I'm not that tall. In fact, I'm short. But I can plant my feet flatly on the ground here. And I know people say, well, as long as your toes can reach the ground, that's what matters. The problem is that if you're sitting way up high here and that weight is up high, when that weight wants to tip over, you're just not going to stop it. That weight's coming over, and then you're going to have to put the bike back up. That's another video. So number one is the height of the seat. You want to keep in mind that the higher it is for you, and then the back passenger area is going to be higher too, because a lot of the sport bikes that angle up like that. So that passenger is now stepping on the foot peg, trying to swing the leg over, and likely wobbling all over the place. And instead of having a good foundation here with your legs, you're on your tiptoes trying to manage this beast that's trying to tip over with somebody trying to hop on back. So number one is the height. That's why I like the cruisers. I'm not tall. I want to be sitting a little bit lower, and I want to have my feet where I can be on the ground. The second thing is the weight itself. And the weight, more weight, is just going to be more difficult to maneuver. This is a pretty heavy bike, but the weight is pretty low. So I'm very comfortable maneuvering on this bike. And then the third thing is the wheelbase. And the wheelbase is defined as from the center of this wheel that touches the ground, the part of this wheel that touches the ground, to the part of that front wheel that's touching the ground. That distance is the wheelbase. Now this bike has a pretty long wheelbase, which I think is kind of tight. However, when you're in turns, it's harder to maneuver because, again, compare that to a sport bike where your wheel is like right here by your handlebar, and you're just easily maneuvering, you know, by design obviously, and this is kind of sitting back enjoying the ride. But you have to remember your wheel's sticking out here, so as you're turning, you need to start turning this wheel a lot sooner. Most accidents, so now we're not talking about tipping, we're talking about accidents, they happen on intersections and curves. So intersections, usually the other person's fault. They're going to slam into you from behind because they don't see you or they're on their phone, or they're not going to see you properly. They're going to left turn right in front of you. You'll be cruising and you can kind of tell sometimes, kind of beep your horn a little bit, but they're on their phone. They don't see a big car, object, whatever, and they just turn right in front of you and you smash right into it. So be careful on turns and intersections. Those are the most common areas for accidents. One thing that will help you, I know it's helped me, because I've been in a couple of violent accidents, is what we say, all the gear all the time. And even if it's a hot day or whatever, I'm always wearing these 5 things. A full face helmet, right? I know people like the tiny peanut helmets. The problem is, they're just going to be designed to protect this part of your skull from splitting open. Well, what about that beautiful face of yours? You want the full face in that case. Also, with the full face that goes to the second piece of gear, I wear a scarf. I don't care if it's 100 degrees, I'm wearing this. And the reason why is because now this helmet, right, your neck breaks because it moves too much in one direction, right, this way or this way. And the scarf with the jacket helps to that full face helmet to stop. I get that little bit of extra room to stop here and here. Because remember, everybody does the back breaks, which I do, and they should, but your back, your lower back is like that thick. It's pretty thick. But your neck is like a tail. So you really need to be worried about your neck as much or more than your back. So this is the second thing I use, is the scarf. The next thing I do is the back brace indeed, and of course the jacket. And the jacket is, if I have to sacrifice something, it's the jacket, because there, okay, my skin gets scraped up, maybe I break a bone here, I'll live. But these components, I don't want to skimp on. And then the last one is the gloves. The reason I don't like to skimp on the gloves is because it's so easy to use. You can get a pair, they're not expensive, and these are ventilated gloves for the summertime. You're not going to be able to ride without gloves in the wintertime or the fall, but these are pretty well ventilated. they don't encumber anything. It's such an easy solution. So I want you to be safe, all the gear, all the time. All right, so now let's go ahead and fire this bad boy up. Next exercise, okay? You can see here, we're in neutral. I like to park all my bikes in neutral because I don't want to fire it up and maybe I'm not clutched in, the bike lurches forward. So I always park it and put it in neutral. All right, keys on, and remember to put the kickstand up. Now, hit the on button or the run button in this case, like so. And this particular bike is supposed to twist the throttle a little bit, or 2 twists to get some gas in the fuel line. But I always clutch in and I fire it up.